you to the first Generation Unleashed Leadership Vodcast. We are so excited to start providing vodcasts each month with different leadership tools, and our passion is to resource you as much as we can, the different youth ministries and leaders that are out there. So today I've asked Pastor Marc Estes to join me as we talk about this topic of evangelism and why evangelism is important. We get so many requests from youth pastors and leaders out there that are saying, man, I really would like to be resourced with just more information, more tools to help our young people and our leadership teams be more outgoing and reach our city and really fulfill the gospel mission. And so today what I've done is I've asked Pastor Marc to, one, provide us with as many resources as he can, which will be available at generationunleashed.com underneath the leadership resources, and also at his website, marcestes.com. And but today, to really talk about the why, like why is evangelism so important? And Pastor Marc Estes has worked for Christian Equippers International for many years, traveling the world, teaching on evangelism, equipping churches and youth ministries, and he's an executive pastor here at City Bible Church, works a lot with our youth department, works a lot with our entire church structure. He's also written a couple amazing books, one of them, What Now? Another one, Jesus Today, which is very much along the topic of evangelism. And so let me start by just asking you this, Pastor Marc. Why is evangelism so important?
Well, I think that the main reason why I think evangelism is important is it's important to the heart of God. And Jesus came, as we all know, when he came and died for all of humanity. And it's one of those things that are of the utmost importance simply because if people don't know Jesus, they're going to spend eternity without him.
Yeah.
And I think that we get that intellectually. I think that many of us as leaders will go, hey, we understand, that we should preach the gospel. But I think oftentimes we lose sight of the reality that there's a real hell, and people will spend eternity there if they don't have a personal relationship with Jesus. And oftentimes we get so busy in doing so many other things. The reality is that it should be our primary purpose. It should be what we focus in on. I think if we were to ask God today, God, what's on your heart? I think he would say lost people.
Yeah.
Because it's the one thing you're not going to be able to do in heaven when you get there is reach lost people. It'll be too late. We'll spend eternity worshiping. If you say, hey, I love the Word, listen, you'll be with the Word for eternity. Yeah. But when it comes to that final day where we stand before him and a person's life is over, the reality is it's too late.
Yeah.
So I think that especially evangelism for youth culture is so important. Number one is because it's a passion to the heart of God, but reality is the harvest is young, and the majority of people that ever come to Christ do so before the age of 21. So we've been positioned, I think, as leaders and as pastors to say, this is a primary thing. This is when people are thinking about life and thinking about God, and the longer that we wait to present the gospel to people, the less chance they are of accepting. So this is a great opportunity for us to really transform culture and really make an impact by reaching people for Jesus. I think it's of the utmost importance and should be a primary purpose in our lives.
Yeah, and I believe that most people probably watching this, that especially the pastors and leaders that are out there, they'd be saying, yeah, our passion is to do more evangelism and to really make it a bigger priority in their own life and their leadership team. And we've had you come in many times and teach at our conference and teach in our youth ministry and everything on how to best evangelize. What would you say to everyone that's watching right now is probably the most effective way or approach to evangelism?
Well, I think first of all that the Bible gives us very clear example that most people that ever come to Christ come through relationship. Whether it was Peter with his brothers, or Philip, or Andrew, or the Roman centurion, and you go down the list of all the different examples that we see. Even Jesus himself reached people in people groups. The book of Acts, we see that they reached out to their families and met house to house. And oftentimes what happens is that we present these evangelism ideas or opportunities that are trying to go out and to reach masses and strangers, and reality is that a lot of those people, even though they may make a decision, will never ultimately come and stay in a local church because they don't have a relationship there.
Yeah.
And one of the statistics that I think is very important to understand, whether it's youth culture or church as a whole, that 86% of all people that ever give their life to Christ and stay in a local church had a relationship with someone inside the church prior to their conversion.
Yeah.
So that goes to tell me that if we're going to reach people, let's reach those people that God's already put in our lives and in our path. And so we've got to look for ways to inspire and encourage our young people as well as ourselves, modeling it by going out and being proactive in building relationships and doing life and serving and loving and caring and praying for those that God's already put in our path. We don't need to go pray for another million. Let's get a vision for the ones God's already put in our path.
Yeah.
And to really help young people understand those are the people that God's placed in your life, and those are the people that we should be targeting the most.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we go everywhere else but relationships.
Yeah.
And so, if we could do one thing, as youth pastors, youth leaders, young adult leaders, is saying, let's work and strategize on focusing on the relationships God's already placed in our lives.
Yeah, I know one of the things that you've challenged us as a leadership team so many times, is the reality that evangelism is not something we do. Evangelism is the lifestyle we live. And in culture today, many of the leaders and youth pastors that are watching this, they would say, man, there is such a separation between beliefs and behaviors. And what would you say to them? How can they approach this issue when it comes to evangelism, that people believe, yes, it matters to God, it should matter to me, but yet they don't align their behavior to live that way?
Right. Statistics again show that 95% of all Christians have never led anybody to Christ.
Wow.
That's pretty challenging.
Yeah.
However, those 95% that have never led someone to Christ, the majority would say, hey, I think it's my responsibility. It's the same thing with prayer, it's the same thing with thought life, it's the same thing with worship or church attendance or serving or giving, is that we have this idea that we're supposed to believe something and do something. However, we separate that actually from our behaviors. And I think that the world watches us, especially young people. They watch their peers and they say, I listen to more of what they're doing than what they're saying. And oftentimes we can say, hey, I'm a Christian, or hey, you should come to my church, but they're at the same parties, or they're telling bad jokes, or doing profane things, or doing stupid things. And the reality is that people see that and they say, I don't know if I want to follow that kind of religion if that's the behavior that it produces. And I do this all the time, and you see me do this many times, as I ask the congregation or people when I'm speaking, take your fingers and put it on your chin. And the majority of the time, 99% of the people put it right here, but they don't put it right here. And this is your chin, not your cheek. Yeah. And the analogy is this, is that people will always see more of what you do or how you behave versus actually what you say. Yeah. And so it's important for us that we live out the example of being a Christian, that we're actually different, and that there's something that's attractive about us, and that there's something that's enticing in our lifestyle. Because young people are looking for answers, for hope, for peace, for joy, for happiness. And if we're not living that, if we're not modeling that, they're going to say, oh, that's just another stale religion. Yeah. And so part of it is the proclamation piece. Second, and most importantly, too, is the demonstration piece. We can proclaim without demonstration, and it's fantasy. Yeah. But how do we not only just go out and say something, but how do we behave and do something that backs up what we believe? I think that's important for us to teach our young people, to really live out being an example, not just say what we want to say, but live it in our lives. Yeah. And so you've got to incorporate that into everything that you do. And then most importantly, encourage every young person to build relationships. And realize that evangelism takes time. It's 7 to 10 contacts with the gospel before someone ever prays a prayer. Yeah. So let's don't get in a hurry. Let's build relationships. Let's go serve them. Let's do coffee. But create this environment that allows people to understand evangelism is a process. It's not an event. So just go build relationships, pray, be inspired, be stirred, equip your people. And I think if you create that as a culture piece of your youth ministry, that you're going to really begin to see a lot more young people come to Christ.
That's excellent. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us on our first podcast here, and really want to encourage everyone that's watching this, man, be inspired to just take these thoughts now and begin to just add some action to it. Gather some of these resources. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and just take this journey of evangelism a step further with your group. And anything that we can do, just let us know here at Generation Unleashed. Our heart, again, is to resource and be here the best we can for you. If you need to get a hold of us, you can email us at GU@City Bible Church. You can go to onto the website generationunleashed.com. You can Facebook me at Poncho Louder at Facebook. Whatever you want, we'd love to be in touch with you. And next month, we're going to be doing another one. We're going to be sitting down with Pastor Chad Veach and talking about his book, Do You See What I See? And really talking about the vision a leadership team needs to have, and even us as individuals, what we need to have. And we look forward to just connecting with you more, and hopefully we'll see you at the conference this next year in 2013. It's going to be awesome.